Everyone knows there are 20 managers in the Premier League, yeah? Well, actually, no. Around 3/4 of them are not managers. The terms manager and head coach are often used interchangeably to describe Premier League bosses, but they're actually two different jobs. So let's explain how and why. For years, fans referred to Mikel Arteta as Arsenal's manager, but I'm afraid technically...
I don't think so, no.
From his first day on the job, he was the Gunners' head coach. Let's pick a random moment in time, February 2025. Only 6 Premier League bosses actually held the official title of manager rather than head coach. Man City's Pep Guardiola, David Moyes of Everton, Ipswich boss Kieran McKenna, Southampton's Ivan Juric, Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace and Leicester's Ruud van Nistelrooy were the only actual managers of their respective teams. Everyone else? That's right, head coach, including Ruben Amorim at Man United. He took over from Erik ten Hag, a man who had held the title of manager. Might come as a surprise that Amorim's appointment marked the first time ever that Man United had a head coach instead of a manager. But to understand why they made that decision, you also have to get what the difference is between a head coach and a manager. A manager's got a huge range of responsibilities. They're not just in charge of training and player lineups, they're also heavily involved in player sales and transfers. Critical stuff. But a head coach's role is far more focused on team training and performance on the pitch. So whereas Ten Hag was highly involved with decisions around transfers during his tenure, the intention was that Amorim wouldn't be, at least not on the same level. And as the sporting structure at Man United changed under Sir Jim Ratcliffe, people like Sir Dave Brailsford took charge of transfers instead. How all those roles play out in practice may be slightly different at different clubs though. On the other hand, the contracts of actual managers like Pep or Moyes had no limits on their job role and their involvement with transfers and contracts. But those guys are actually in the minority now, and it's a change that's happened pretty quickly. In 2019, there were only 6 head coaches in the Premier League, but by 2025, there were 14. A clear indication that more and more clubs are moving towards a model where the guy in charge is actually only really in charge on the pitch. And the way things are going, it might not be long before all 20 clubs have got head coaches, and the job position of football manager in the top flight is no more.
Happy anniversary to Ruben Amorim. He celebrates exactly 1 year as Manchester United boss. We're going to spend our first hour looking at his impact at the club, whether he's the man to take them back to their former glories, and if they're heading in the right direction under Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox. United fans, do you trust the process? 03717 223344. I thought we'd already accepted there's no loyalty in football, but Rob Edwards' potential move to Wolves has got under the skin of so many neutrals. Why? You can have your say on that. We'll also hear from Arsenal's Bukayo Saka. He joins up with the England squad, having already secured a World Cup berth. What do you want to see from Thomas Tuchel and his side in their final 2 qualifiers? We'll find out what Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn make of their son's second duel this weekend. A Fulham mulling over a managerial change. Former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant alongside me. I might ask him about the crisis at Anfield too. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. And for the next hour, we're going to look back at Ruben Amorim's first year in charge of Manchester United.
Verbally, Amorim has already agreed to this move, so it's just really a question of United agreeing to pay compensation to Sporting, and then this move will happen.
Amorim, I think you look at what he's done at Sporting, he's shown that he could turn the team around quickly.
Manchester United still with only one away win in the Premier League this season. That was at Southampton.
Manchester United, they beat Leicester well, they beat Southampton well. You know, they usually knock over promoted teams. They might struggle against some of the better teams, but they have struggled here. In towards Joe Linton, up there with a header, and it's past Onana and into the corner, and Manchester United are 2-0 behind. The honeymoon is over for Ruben Amorim.
It's a big summer for him to get players in to make a difference. It's going to take 2 or 3 windows. It's whether he's given time. If he loses enough football matches, there is no way on earth he'll keep his job.
The full-time whistle has blown. The Manchester United players sink to the ground in frustration. It's finished Manchester United 0, Arsenal
1.
We can win any game. So if we think about just winning the next game, that is the most important thing. We can win the next game.
They've obviously backed him of what he wants to do, because as I said, he's made some big calls, and it looks at the moment anyway that things are on track a little bit.
It's finished Manchester United 4, Brighton and Hove Albion 2. It was a well-deserved win for the home side.
When you're a manager, you need 3 years to turn things around. I think things are going the right way.
It's one of the biggest honors of my life to be here, and I want to continue here for many years.
Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants him to continue too. 3 years, he says he needs to prove that he is a top-class manager and to turn the club around. We're going to take your calls this hour and discuss a year of Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. By the way, I should tell you, just underway over on talkSPORT 2 tonight. Virtue Trophy footballers Stockport host Wigan. Cameron Pope and former England defender Mickey Gray are your commentary team. Plymouth Argyle already a man down away at Bristol Rovers, in need of course, some positivity under Tom Cleverley, bottom of League One at the moment. Anyway, Flex, co-host of Inside Devils YouTube channel, of course, here at talkSPORT, and former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant. Good evening, how are you?
Good, I'm very good.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, feeling nice. How you're okay?
No, I'm okay.
Sure?
I've been better.
Yeah, just had a look at the Premier League table, and the name of Manchester United is above the name of Liverpool there.
Ooh.
Who thought our rivalry this season would be a race for a place in Europe, full stop?
Yeah, that's all it is.
That's all it is, yeah.
Listen.
Transition.
You might get
You'll
Conference
just go
League.
for Europe at the same time.
A little bit of Conference League next year would be good for Liverpool.
You two get Liverpool out of your mouth. Okay, we're not in the same league. We're not fighting for... Me and you are not fighting for Champions League. We've got a Champions League.
Okay.
We're fine.
We'll talk Liverpool in the final hour. Let's start with Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. United's 2-2 draw at Spurs on Saturday means they're currently unbeaten in 5 games. That's their longest run without defeat under Amorim. 3 wins, 2 draws in that time. He was confirmed on Friday the 1st of November last year. Ruud van Nistelrooy was in interim charge, though, so Amorim's first match, a 1-1 draw at Ipswich, took place on Sunday the 24th of November. But Amorim officially took charge on Monday the 11th of November. United finished 15th under Amorim last year and, of course, lost the Europa League final 1-0 against Spurs. They were knocked out in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup, also against Spurs. The FA Cup 5th round, they were knocked out against Fulham. This season, United have been as low as 16th and 14th twice, but they're currently 7th in the league, and they've been as high as 6th. 18 points from 11 games, 1 point off the top 4, 8 points off first place. Where are Manchester United right now? I'll start with you, Jermaine.
Manchester United, for me, look, I've seen improvements, but there's nothing to, I would say, rave about at the moment. We've seen results away at Nottingham Forest, seen results Tottenham. So yes, they've got better going forward. There's more goals in that team now with Cunha and Wemmer. I think are being great signings. But I think there's still question about their midfield and their defence. Defensively, still look vulnerable. But they're in a better place than they were. But they're still miles off it where Man United should be. This is my team.
I think that's fair. To be honest with you, that's very fair. We needed stability and calm. What was happening was we were losing every single week or every other week. You can't build any confidence. You can't build any momentum. And every single loss is catastrophic. And you can't build a football club back to where it needs to be if you're continually on that pendulum. So this last 5 games has gone a long way. Probably being celebrated more than it should at the club of the size of Man United. But from where we're coming from, i.e. 15th, losing that Europa League final, the start to this season, heavy defeats to Brentford, heavy defeat to City, getting knocked out against Grimsby. So not a good start in all competitions in like the first 4 games in all comps. To where we are now has been needed. You can't say Man United are back. You can't say Man United have indefinitely turned a corner. I think you can just say that Manchester United have improved. I think by proxy, when you sign Premier League proven players like Cunha and Mbeumo, we're getting our rewards for that because you get instant impact. Essentially, we've signed 4 starters in the summer in Sesko, the keeper Sonny Lamons, and the 2 players I just mentioned in Cunha and Mbeumo respectively. And that has improved our squad. Sesko is in and out dependent on the game because he's young and needs time. Sonny Lamons is a monumental upgrade on Andre Onana just by doing basics correct, just by claiming crosses, just by parrying a shot out of danger, just by kicking it long into good areas. Basic goalkeeping, but the bar was low. So he's bred an era of confidence. But as Amorim has kept saying in this recent upturn of form, which I actually do like, he's saying, people keep saying we've got better because, you know, the results have improved, but we are, like Jermaine just said, miles off where we want to be. There's work to do. Midfield's still a massive problem, etc.
Let's hear from Ruben Amorim after Matthias de Ligt's last-second equaliser at Spurs on Saturday. That was their unbeaten run extended to 5 games, as I mentioned, the longest run under Amorim. I wonder how the mood would have differed had they lost that game. But let's hear what he had to say to talkSPORT after the game.
It's really important because it's that feeling of not going home with a losing feeling. That is really important. But again, my players need to understand that we lose 2 points. The feeling in the end is different, but in my head, we lost 2 points, like we lost 2 points against Nottingham. So we need to win the next game. It's going to be in our home, and we need to. Today we had a different energy if you compare against Nottingham, but it's not enough. We need to have a different energy.
Things change very quickly. Before this unbeaten run, Manchester United lost 3-1 at Brentford at the end of September, and it felt like the writing was on the wall. It was just like, how long can this go on? And what we've seen over the last 5 games, I don't think has actually personally changed my mind over whether Ruben Amorim should be the Manchester United manager. But what I'm seeing is, especially after the comments of Sir Jim Ratcliffe saying that he needs some time to show that he's going to be a great manager and we have a plan. Jason Wilcox has come out as well. Essentially, the sporting director has come out recently to say there's a plan, there's a strategy, Ruben Amorim's part of it. What I see now in United is actually a manager who might take them a level up, but isn't going to worry the best teams in the Premier League over the next 3 or 4 years. I don't see it. Unless we see a bigger body of evidence. I mean, even the last 5 games, But
that's what it's about. I think what's difficult as a United fan, right? And I've been there, right? Because I was saying this the other day on the podcast that, like, we actually do need to keep calm, but it's really difficult to do that because we're looking for answers and we're looking for validity, and we're looking for instant, like, we're okay, we're on the right path. And that's really difficult to do when you're losing so many games. That's why now, for me, I'm on, like, the real short-term goals. The short-term goals, forget getting back to the top just for a moment. Man United needed to stabilise and win some football matches. That's it. Forget tactics, forget this, that and the other and Ruben's principles and just where we were, you just got to win some football matches. And it's already brought some calm.
How good a manager is Ruben Amorim?
He's an okay manager. I'm not going to say he's in the top 5 in the league. I think, yeah, he may take Man United or improve them, you know, in this season and maybe next season. But that's all it's going to be. Unless you get better players, you're not going to see this same team in 2 or 3 years all of a sudden challenging.
No, it won't look like this team. It won't.
You know, it
won't.
He can only do so much. If you've got a certain players in your team that can only go to a certain bar of ability, it doesn't matter what kind of tactics you've got or what you implement to make formations or whatnot. If you haven't got the players to challenge Arsenal, to challenge Man City, it doesn't matter who you have in the tunnel. It doesn't matter who you have in the dugout, barking you orders. Yeah, you can do well with a good manager, but until you start bringing in better players, like you started from the top, you start with Kuna and Mbeumo, that's a great selection. Now you've got a decent keeper in, that's a good start. Now you need top midfielders. Yeah, you've got one Bruno, but you need, you know, a different style of player. Defensive midfielder with legs. Defensively, you need top defenders. I wouldn't say Harry Maguire, Yori Leno, and De Ligt are top of the top defenders to challenge, you know, top teams in the Premier League.
Stepping stones. It is about stepping stones. Like, to build a team that's worthy of getting to title challenges. I hate to use the lazy Arsenal comparison, but, like, they didn't start by getting the players that they've got now. They've got to this point by continually.
It's a 5-year process.
Do you see what I'm saying? And I haven't been the most patient. I've been there, angry. I've been negative with you. I've been there, but I have taken a step back at times and gone, do you know what? You do have to have stepping stone players to get you to be a competitive team again, first off. And then again, like we were discussing, then you go, right, you need better than Dorgu and Dalot. You need better than Casemiro. You need, if what's going to happen with Bruno, is he going to leave? You need better options off the... What's happening now, actually, is, mate, as soon as Casemiro leaves the pitch, the drop-off to, like, Ugarte or Kobe can't even get... We've got nothing in midfield. Nothing. There's no control over games. So right now, I think we're just better just because we bought better individuals at this time, and then the confidence is coming in. I think the hierarchy do know and are aware, hence the links to people like Elliot Anderson now or Wharton. Those are the next step of, like, right, how are you going to fix the midfield? The same way they ripped out the attack in the summer, because our biggest thing was we conceded about the same amount of goals as everybody else, 50-odd, but the goals we conceded, it was only Everton who scored less than us out of the 3 teams who went down. Shocking. So they just put a whole new attack in. That surgery will be on the midfield in the summer.
Okay, plenty for us to discuss this hour when it comes to Manchester United. If you've got a view on Ruben Amorim and his future, give us a call, 03717 22 3344. We're going to hear from Sir Jim Ratcliffe. We'll also hear from Dimitar Berbatov, former United striker, after the break. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. We'll discuss Ruben Amorim on his 1-year anniversary as Manchester United manager and look ahead to what the future might hold. Stay with us. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft with you, as is Jermaine Pennant and Flex. We're talking Manchester United. Ruben Amorim made it. He made it 1 year into the job. Our reflections on Ruben Amorim's time so far as Manchester United manager. You can drop us a text on 81089. I'll read out a few of those in a moment. First, though, let's get an odds update with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Let's welcome Chris Wood to the show. Chris, we're talking about Manchester United and Ruben Amorim this hour. Any specials on those two teams? Well, United and their boss.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we've got obviously things have turned around for him a little bit. He was odds on to leave before the end of the season at one point, but he's 5-2 to leave before the end of this season now. Obviously there has been a bit of a change, but things can still go south pretty quickly. We've also we've priced up them to finish higher than Liverpool this season at 5-2, finish higher than City this season at 11-2, and looking ahead to the league next season, they're 20-1 to win the league next season, 14-1 to win the Europa League. That's all in with whether they qualify for it or not, and 100-1 to win the Champions League next season.
Interesting, very interesting indeed. Okay, Chris, thank you so much for being with us. That was a look at the latest odds with Ladbrokes, 18+, gambleaware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Little 14-1 on the Europa League. Looks interesting, yeah.
We'll be in the Champions League next year, mate. Don't need to.
Okay, all right, let's talk about it anyway. A few of your texts coming in on 81089. This is from, I think it just says, United fan here. Of course I trust the process. We may have had a bad run, but if Liverpool trust their process, ours is definitely one to trust in. Amorim's players have been doing well. Slot gets his own players, and he's become Jurgen Flop. Collie says, when life gives you lemons, make Amrinade. Love it. And this one, no name on here. I don't know how anyone can give United negative feedback right now. This guy mustn't be watching matches. We've been looking better behind the ball, better defensively, better behind goal. Some people are stuck in last season. Okay, all right, we're going to discuss it all this hour. Let's hear from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, co-owner of Manchester United. Remember, he was talking to the Times podcast, The Business, a month ago. Here's what he had to say about Ruben Amorim's future.
We have to be patient, and we have a long-term plan. It isn't a light switch, and you can't run a club like Manchester United on knee-jerk reactions to some journalist who goes off on one. He needs to demonstrate that he's a great coach over 3 years.
So you give him 3 years?
Yeah, that's where I would be. Yeah.
very interesting comments a month ago, which I disagreed with. I disagreed with them coming out and saying them. It didn't help, in my opinion. But since then, Man United's form has improved. So maybe the public vote of confidence is the reason for United's improved results. What do you think?
Maybe. But when those comments were said and they were put to Ruben, he said, they tell me this all the time in private. Like, it wasn't new news to him. So I don't feel like he got... Well, he didn't. He told us he didn't get any extra reassurance by those words being public. He said it's nice, but the conversations I have with Jason and Omar, etc., and Sir Jim, they tell me I knew this already.
But it lifted the pressure on him at that time when results weren't going
exactly.
well.
It puts pressure on him.
No, well, people were screaming for him to kind of be fired. A lot of people were.
Calm that down so that he's not. Yeah.
I'm not. The hierarchy clearly didn't want to get rid of him at that time, so it took a little bit of that pressure off.
I'm not going to say it was a turning point, but I think it had a huge factor on his future. The result at Anfield, beating Liverpool, was a massive statement, and I think had a great fight for his cause to keep him on. Would it have made a difference if they would have got beat 3 or 4-0? I think so.
It would have.
I think if they would have took a whooping and lost 3 or 4-0 like everyone ever expected, that would have knocked confidence. They would have maybe have lost the next couple of games on the back of that, because they've been shot to bits. And I think then there would have been a different story coming out of Sir Jim Ratcliffe.
I wasn't incensed by what Sir Jim Ratcliffe said. I did push back on the narrative of like, you don't just give 3 years, you have to earn it. But let's be honest, guys. You all know this, you especially know this. It's a results game. Even in those same quotes, he goes on to say, but ultimately we're driven by results. Ruben Amorim saying, yeah, they've told me this, but he actually said, I don't really like this because it gives the idea that we have time. And we don't have time. We need to start winning matches now. And like Jermaine just said, if Man United went on to keep losing and losing and losing and losing, yeah, I want to give him 3 years. But he keeps losing football matches, he would lose his job. Yeah. So it's all dictated to by results.
When have you ever heard a chairman or owner come out and say, yeah, he's got 3 games? If he doesn't change, he's getting a sack.
Exactly.
You've never heard any owner
Doesn't
come
happen,
out and call out their manager unless you're Marinakis.
I think Darren McAnthony said Darren Ferguson needs to win at the weekend.
Okay. Well,
he had a few, but the top
Brady
teams
was in here saying, Graham
Potter,
Potter, we're going to support him and this, that, and the other. He went on to keep losing. It's like, what I said 2 weeks ago don't stand. He has to leave.
What they say to the public and what's actually going on behind closed doors are 2 different things.
Well, let's find out what the public feel. Manchester United fans giving us a call on 03717 223344. The first is David. Good evening. David, do you trust the process?
Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure.
Good evening, David.
I think we've spoken before about this subject, and we seem to disagree on Amorim because there's a lot of negativity surrounding the club at the moment, and there has been for a while. I just want to say about the Jim Ratcliffe interview. I genuinely think that was a stroke of genius from Ratcliffe, because it's funny how since he came out with that and he backed Amorim publicly, the players all of a sudden are starting to put in shifts all over the pitch. Whether that's because they now understand that throwing their toys out the pram, putting in mediocre performances, and being lapsadaisy on the pitch isn't going to get the manager sacked anymore, and they're going to get their own way. And we've seen this playing time in and time out over the last 10 years, certainly the last 5. So that's the one thing I wanted to say firstly, and I think it was a great move by Sir Jim. Amorim was getting pelted from absolutely everybody, even including fans, pundits, ex-players, everybody jumping on his back. We know now in football, there's no time. Nobody gets time in football anymore. But it's just the impatience is on a different level now. Let the man do his job. Now, we're talking about transfers, right? And I heard Jermaine, believes talking about the midfield still got problems, the defence still has problems. Yes, Jermaine, it does. But, it doesn't take one transfer window to turn it all around. So where do you start? And I think Amorim started at the right place. It was at the top of the pitch, where we've got players now that are willing to press, willing to run back just as much as they're willing to run forward, not players like Marcus Rashford, who are born around the corner from Old Trafford, and after losing 3-0 at home to Manchester City and not running back and tracking back time after time, will go out partying after the game. So now we've got players who are willing to run, willing to play, and can score goals. Now that alone It gives the players and the team confidence, which is what we can see based on the last few results. And bear in mind, we have started the season pretty well, apart from a couple of bad results against Brentford in Grimsby. I don't really want to mention the Grimsby game again.
Don't mention that again. Don't worry.
David, appreciate
Make
your
some
call.
good points.
Getting us started did make some very good points indeed.
David.
And he's a positive Manchester United fan. So getting us off on the right foot. You can join us this hour, 03717 22 3344. Up next, we're going to continue to take your calls on Ruben Amorim and Manchester United. We'll hear from our boxing pundit, Gareth A. Davis, as well. He's been at the grand arrivals ahead of the rematch between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. That's live on talkSPORT on Saturday.
Cricket balls are red, baseballs are white, American footballs are brown, and tennis balls are yellow. We don't even think about it really, but the story behind the tennis ball is actually quite interesting and even involves Sir David Attenborough. I know, here's the tale. Tennis has its roots in 12th century France when people used to make balls from all sorts. Cork, wool, chalk, animal fur and even human hair. Uniformity was found centuries later when people started making balls out of something called vulcanized rubber, invented in the US. But the balls kept on breaking, so a British lawyer, who also loved tennis, suggested they put a flannel covering on the outside, and thus the tennis ball as we know it was born. One problem, it was either white or black. And when the controller of BBC Two, Sir David Attenborough, decided Wimbledon would be shown in colour on the BBC in 1967, no one could actually see the balls on telly. So the International Tennis Federation went away and created a new colour called Optic Yellow, which would show up without the need for a 4K LED display. Not that anyone had that in the 1960s, of course. Since then, all tennis balls have been covered in that material and have their trademark colour for that exact reason. Amateur tennis players and dogs worldwide are forever grateful. You could say the ITF aced it.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft with you, as is Flex and Jermaine Pennant, the former Liverpool wide man. Remember, talkSPORT brings you the massive rematch between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn this Saturday, live from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Heavyweight Dave Allen will join our expert boxing team that's going to keep you right across a busy fight week. You can watch along with us on the night over on the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. Eubank Jr. versus Benn live this Saturday, 7 p.m. here on talkSPORT. You can watch it on DAZN as well. We're going to continue to discuss Ruben Amorim and Manchester United shortly, but now I'm delighted to welcome in our boxing pundit, Gareth A. Davis, who's been at the grand arrivals for this Saturday's rematch. Looking very dapper, as always, of course. Very fitting. Good evening.
Good evening, Hugh. Good evening, Jermaine and Flex. We've just kicked off on Kickoff. We've kicked off the week here with the grand arrivals at the Pelican, this beautiful kind of vaulted amphitheatre at Canary Wharf. Both men, the denouement of the walkouts, the grand arrivals, looking in phenomenal shape. Chris Eubank, very, very cool. Conor Benn, very cool. On a day when we had their fathers, as you'll all know, at talkSPORT for half the day.
Yes, absolutely right. Let's hear from Chris Eubank Sr. in the studio with Wyatt and Jordan earlier today, refuting claims that he was paid to attend the first bout in those dramatic scenes.
Paid? You can't buy me. I don't work that way.
But were you paid?
You were paid. So hold on. So Simon has come in there and he's actually now he wants to press the point. I was not paid a penny, and I didn't take a penny. I was offered money. I would never take a money. You know why? Because integrity doesn't work that way. That's why I'm done, Gorgon. That's why I am trusted. That's why I am loved. Why? Because I am true.
The unmistakable Chris Eubank Sr. then. He's on the latest episode of Talk Boxing. That's going to be out at 8 p.m. boxing fans. Drop in very, very soon. As ever, it's going to be an incredible interview. We got that a little bit earlier as well. Listen, it's great to see them back together. They got a documentary out at the moment as well, Gareth. Has that made this whole rematch, the first when we saw him in that dramatic, it was like WWE style entrance that he gave us, but also now the involvement of the two parents quite closely to the build up to this fight, does it add to it?
Oh, it does. I mean, this is all about going back to 1990 and 1993 and those two terrific fights. The second one, of course, at Manchester United's football ground that Flex will appreciate, of course, 47,000 people there that night, on a night when they delivered again and it was a draw. But I think the family rivalry was really, in that first fight, shown to be carried on through the DNA of the sons. Chris Eubank Sr. earlier, by the way, I do admire the way he is. He's very unhappy about this weight rehydration clause of £10 imposed on his son. I agree with him on that. I think the Boxing Board of Control should have stepped in and not allowed it. They're fighting at £160. He has to make that weight. He can't go £10 above it, or he's facing up to £1 million fine if he does so. Conor Benn, of course, is coming up 2 weight divisions for those that don't know. So they're trying to promotionally equalise the guys. But what that does, and this is where the old man is right, it puts a fighter at risk. It's a dangerous sport anyway, and weight draining is a very dangerous process.
Listen, it almost seems like after you say something like that, where the health of a fighter could be at risk, silly for me to ask you about the hype around the fight and whether it's going to justify what we see in the ring. You know, the great scenes behind you there. If you're watching with us on YouTube, you'll see that the red carpet is out. Plenty of stars this evening. Those are going to be involved in the fight, all having something to say about it as we begin the build-up to what will be an incredible fight week, I'm sure. Does all the glamour, the glitz and glamour detract for you from something that's fairly serious?
No, not at all. The big fights, these are both prize fighters. You felt the electricity coming off both men as they came past us as we did our Fight Night Daily podcast for the YouTube channel. These two guys feel like stars. That's why Turki Al-Sheikh and the Ring have invested 20-odd million pounds into this event. They're being paid massively. They are acting like stars. They've got their methods this week. Conor Benn's emotionless with his father, Nigel. Nigel was amazing in the studio earlier today as well. They didn't cross, I don't think, the old men. I think they kept them apart, did Ed Huntley and Romario, our producer and cameraman for the event. I think it had to keep the fathers apart. But Conor Benn's playing his part. He's keeping it cool, calm and collected. He's a very emotional guy. No, Hugh, it's very exciting to be around these events. I've been in boxing for over 35 years. It's always dangerous. Terrible things happen sometimes. It's an inherently dangerous sport. It's an unusual sport, but it's one in which Eubank Sr. said himself earlier on, guys are drawn to fight. They can't say no. And when there's a big payday on the line, they grab it with both hands. And that's what we have here. Unfinished business.
Gareth, thank you very much indeed. On the red carpet, looking like a young Tom Cruise. Just remember, of course, we'll have you covered with the fight this weekend. It's going to be live for you on DAZN as well, so make sure you're with DAZN for that. I had a big read to read and I've lost it. Right, I'll give you the read where you can find the fight straight after this. Stay with us on talkSPORT.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Buy now at DA.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft, Flex and Jermaine Pennant are with you. And a reminder, this Saturday, the unmissable rematch between Ben and Eubank Jr. will take place live from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You can watch it live on Saturday. It is only on DAZN. So there you go. Listen, we're still talking about Manchester United. It's 1 year since Ruben Amorim officially took over as Manchester United boss. We're going to talk about things off the field in a moment and where Manchester United should be looking to finish first. So let's hear from the former Manchester United forward Cristiano Ronaldo, who spoke to Piers Morgan last week, said that Ruben Amorim is not going to do miracles at the club. Also, another ex-player, striker Dimitar Berbatov, gave his take to talkSPORT.
Ronaldo is coming from a mentality of winner all his professional career.
Yeah.
And I can back that up because for the 1 year that I used to play with him, you can I was seeing it like everybody else that he was preparing for something great. And this is what maybe United lost throughout the years because we didn't win the title since 2013, I think, last year of Sir Alex. We need to get that way of to feel the starvation that is there for the Premier League, get that back, and because of this, get the ambition of winning. And when you get all this, the miracles will come.
Great to hear from Dimitar Berbatov there, and interesting his reflections on Cristiano Ronaldo. Just when he said that phrase, preparing for greatness.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, do you know what? Across sport, not even just in football, right? Across sport, that is what the best teams are doing, right? They're not leaving any stone unturned when it comes to winning the big things, and maybe that's what Manchester United have done wrong over the past decade or so. Jermaine, I'll start with you. Just asking you, how far away do you think Manchester United are from generating that winning mentality?
Well, they can generate the winning mentality. It's all about no point winning, but you can't challenge to beat the top teams and challenge for the title. So they've got a winning mentality, but they still haven't got the consistency basis. They haven't got enough in the team in a depth to take it to the higher heights, to compete. And that's going to take, if you look at the price, I said 5 years. You need a good transfer window, and you can't get a full team in one transfer window. It's going to take a couple of seasons to get that transfer window and to get the right players in until you are, or Man United, that force that they once were.
You mentioned the depth there, and you said it a little bit earlier on, just questioning the quality at Manchester United. What does the club need to do in the transfer window, Flex, to achieve, I don't know, top four, what do you think they should be looking at this season?
Well, what I think we should be looking at this season as an objective, getting into some form of Europe, like whether that's top 6, top 5 would be amazing. Obviously Champions League spaces, but I think if you can get Europa League as a minimum, if it's conference, it's conference. You don't really want to be in that, but Manchester United need to be in Europe. So I would say Europa League, and with one game a week, with teams getting tired, teams having a lot of games, we got a lot of rest between games. Where we are now as well, you've got to be looking at Champions League / Europa League for me. But in terms of what they need, they have to fix the midfield now. It's beyond a joke at the minute. Like Casemiro, to be fair to him, has had a massive turnaround. Like every time he leaves the pitch, we concede goals. We're actually better with him playing, but he's not the answer. He's not the answer. I think putting Bruno Fernandes into central midfield, I think has hurt his game and overall hurt the team. He's just a good enough player that he's still going to put numbers on the board. He's still going to get goals and assists because I think he's just that good. But in terms of controlling games, scaring opposition midfields, getting combative in there, if you've got Casemiro and Bruno as your two, you'll win some football matches, yes, but you're not going to kick on to the top level. So you need to go and get 2 top central midfielders. Manchester United need more wing backs, in my opinion. You need 2 top left wing backs.
It's a long list.
It's a long list because this is what Jermaine's saying. This is why we're not there yet. This is why we've got a lot to do.
And that's not going to happen in one transfer
Absolutely
window.
not.
That's going
but
to
in the summer, we can. In the summer, this summer coming, January, I'd like to go and get central midfielder, but I understand to try and get one of the big 3 of Anderson, Wharton, or Balaby. You're not going to get that in January. So I get it. Maybe can you get a little Conor Gallagher on loan to run around or just help bolster. But in this summer, they need to do exactly what they've done last summer, but in midfield. Go and give it surgery. Casemiro, I think, will probably leave. He's on big wages. Ugarte, surplus for me. So you go and get 2 proper midfielders. Kobe Mainoo still can't get in. And then you need to get wing backs and another centre back, minimum.
a long way back.
Long way
Manchester
back.
United, in your
Long way
opinion.
back. But progress has been made.
Just as we mentioned Cristiano Ronaldo not too long ago, I don't know if you saw the story today, Jermaine, that Ronaldo was asked whether the 2026 World Cup would be his last. He said, definitely yes. I'm going to be 41 years old. I think this is the moment for me in the big competition. So, as you would probably expect, it's going to be his last World Cup. But he's still scoring goals at international level. Do you think Manchester United got it wrong by letting him go?
Yes and no, because it's difficult, because if you've got a player who doesn't want to really play for the manager, but you've also got a player who's got undoubtedly ability, is amazing and can score your goals, it's difficult. Which one do you put first? Do you put the team first, or do you put the individual? And I think, Ten Hag obviously put Manchester United first and thought that with him in the team, it jeopardises the way we want to play, because he doesn't give me what another player is going to give me. So I understand the decision why Ten Hag didn't play him, but at the same time, when you're struggling as they were to score goals, and you've got someone like Ronaldo, it's a bit of a waste and a shame to not even have that in your ranks.
He scored 18 goals in his Premier League goals. That's a great return. But the problem that you've got with someone like Ronaldo, of course, the emotion. So when we signed him, oh my God, the hysteria. I'm not going to lie. That debut you had the second debut against Newcastle, I was there. He scores 2 goals. I'm thinking mad things. I'm like, oh, do you know what? I think we're actually going to win. I think we've got Varane, we've got Sancho, we've got Ronaldo. This is it. But that's just emotion, right?
Yeah.
The reality of the situation is that someone like Cristiano Ronaldo shouldn't be at Man United when it's going through such a torrid time.
Yeah.
He can't be around that. The standards are too low. He's not going to want to be there for the long haul. And if he's not the main guy who can just dictate everything, i.e. you got Erik Ten Hag trying to find his way, there's players there that are subpar, and there's a lot of problems there. Can't build your team around that.
I do think we would have had a more rapid change. We're talking about the number of players being changed and stuff like that. I think with a figure like Ronaldo in the changing room, Manchester United would have been more aggressive with the changes that they've made to the playing squad and probably getting rid of Erik Ten Hag. All of those things would have happened, I think, with someone like Ronaldo. We've heard previous players, Roy Keane's and Wayne Rooney's, talk about going to see the manager, going to see the hierarchy.
Yeah.
And
Ten Hag wasn't having that.
And basically saying, this isn't good enough. Our standards need to be better or I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And actually, Cristiano Ronaldo did the same thing second time around at Manchester United, and they went, well, you can leave.
Yeah.
And actually, you kind of think, should they have been on his wavelength more than their own in the way things have panned out in the last couple of years?
I don't think they could have got... The problem is someone like Ronaldo in that dressing room is so overpowering, and I just don't think we were set up to have him again the second time. Emotionally, as fans, it's great. But actually, the structure, which was an absolute total mess, because it wasn't what it was now,
and that's
wasn't
why,
there.
But that's why
so it was never going to work.
That's why I think the influence of Ronaldo might have been good. Because actually some of the...
If they listened to him...
Some of the figures at the football club weren't aggressive in a manner that I think...
Murto, Richard Arnold and that, Ed Woodward probably still there. Joke.
Do you know how difficult that must be for him, being in the Man United team? So successful, challenging for everything, and the juggernaut that they was, to then come back, to then endure what he was doing under Ten Hag.
Let's very quickly hear from talkSPORT's chief football correspondent and Manchester United fan, of course, Alex Crook. He was on Inside Devils. He believes United will qualify for the Champions League.
There are so many leaders. Cunha is a leader. Did you watch the video that he put up of him sort of doing a tour of the training ground?
Yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it? Yeah,
just the way that his personality radiates. That United dressing room has been lacking that. I've spoken about Bruno Fernandes. What people might not like a lot of the stuff he does on the pitch, but certainly off the pitch, he is everything you want from a Manchester United captain. Maguire, with the way that he's sort of built his career back up again, has shown great leadership skills.
What fighters.
Another. And I see Mbumo a little bit like that as well, to be fair. So, yeah, there's a lot more personality in that dressing room.
So, Crookie's house, understandably millennial grey, but he does have a portrait of Eric Cantona behind him, reminding us of better times. You can watch the latest episode of Inside Devils on the talkSPORT and talkSPORT Manchester United YouTube channels from 8 o'clock tonight. So, make sure you do check that one out. Very finally, on Manchester United, off the field, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos Sport, the final word this hour, Flex, before you leave us. Have they done enough in the last year to take this club forward?
Jury's out.
Jason Wilcox,
Yeah, jury's out. Omar Barada, Christian Vivell. I think you see the teething problems when they first get there. You got like Sir Dave Brailsford and Jean-Claude Blanc all involved, and now these guys have stepped back. You had the Dan Ashworth debacle. So I think they've made mistakes, as you'd expect maybe a new hierarchy to do before they start to settle down. I think the beginning tenure wasn't great. Some of the decisions that they did, hanging on to Eric Ten Hag for too long when they clearly admitted they didn't want him, they invested into him, so you didn't really have the strength of character to go forward with that. But I do take into account that what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's saying now, or well, actually what Jason Wilcox is saying now, but backed up by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, is that they didn't have all the pieces to the puzzle in situ last summer. And I can see the difference and the contrast between the summer we just had and the summer before. A lot more strategic this year, a lot better thought out, and a lot better executed than the summer before. So I take that into account. It's still up in the air, but I think it's beginning to settle down and go in the right direction. I'd say that.
Okay, Flex, been a pleasure to be with you for the last hour. I know you've had
Cheers, mate.
a very long day. Been in the building since, what, 9:30 this
It's been here since 10 a.m.
So thank you very much for being with us for the first hour. We are, though, going to take your calls. We promised that we would, Manchester United fans. So give us a call on 03717 223344. Your views on the first year of Ruben Amorim straight after this.